everyone, it's Asia Dang with Scott Wolf once again for USC Report. Now, we have a lot to discuss about this Stanford game. Wow, you said that so
I'm agreeing
sadly.
with you. No, I'm agreeing with you. Sadly,
Awesome.
I do agree with you.
What do you mean? We agree on some
Okay.
things.
Yes, we agreed that Notre Dame would beat USC, and we were both wrong about that.
Yeah, we are. That's okay, there's next season.
Okay.
Anyways, let's talk Stanford, how that game was awesome.
It was quite a game. It was.
Yeah.
I said on my blog that it was probably the third most exciting game I've covered as a USC beat writer.
Really?
Behind the Bush-Push USC Notre Dame game in 2005, and then the USC Texas game in the national championship. So this one ranked up pretty high, I think. And I don't think you were there, but the electricity in the Coliseum was pretty amazing. I don't think it's been that way for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So it brought back a lot of memories and kind of gave fans, I think, a taste of the Pete Carroll era, what it was like then. So there were a lot of interesting things that happened in that game.
No, I wasn't there, but I was watching the game.
Good job.
I had to take a break though because I was watching the BJ Penn fight, but once that ended, it was coin toss time, so I saw everything.
I'm glad you have priorities.
I know. So don't, hey, you're being rude. Okay, so.
That's my job.
Yeah, I know. What do you think about the Pac-12 fining Lane Kiffin $10,000 over his post?
I certainly did not expect a $10,000 fine. I don't think they've ever fined a coach $10,000 or even like $1,000 before. So I think the commissioner, Larry Scott, is trying to show he means business because he's been a little stricter suspending players this season. And I think he also probably felt Lane Kiffin has criticized the officials previously this season.
Yeah.
And he did it for like 2 days after the game. And I think he got fed up with it. And personally, I think that Lane Kiffin kind of took away from the feel-good aspect of the game, and they accomplished a lot, I think, even though they lost. And I feel like he diminished from the game by sounding pretty whiny. I mean, he might have had some legitimate complaints, but the way he did it, it just came out really wrong.
Right.
And it was almost a repeat of 2 years ago when he was at Tennessee. They lost to Alabama, and he criticized the officials there and got reprimanded by the SEC. So that's just his nature. He likes to complain about the refs. It'd be nice if he kind of stood up and took a little more responsibility sometimes, but I know in the heat of the moment after a game, it's understandable to complain, but then to do it like 2 days later, it's a little bit overkill. So I think that's why he got the fine.
To reflect about it and then still complain about it, you're saying. It's a good thing people don't fine you. I'm sure you'd be
fine
you over their comments.
Oh yeah, I know. Well, they can't fine us on YouTube, right?
I'm sure people will find a way.
They should be fining you for wearing a Giants t-shirt, by the way.
Giants are my team, like hands down, so don't even play. Like we're not even going to start this because I will throw down.
Notre Dame and the Giants. That's not the most Southern California-esque profile of a sports fan, by the way.
Sorry about it. What can you do?
Okay.
But we're not talking about the Giants.
No.
So do you think that this fine will be a distraction for the Colorado game?
I don't think the fine will. I mean, that's chump change for Lane Kiffin to pay $10,000. I mean, big deal. And the players could care less that he has to pay that. But, you know, he has this sign on the field that says no distractions. And he created a huge distraction. So, you know, what it does is it means players have to talk about it with the media, with the fans more on the internet, on Twitter. So it's a huge topic of conversation. So I think that's where it's a distraction. Luckily, they play the worst team in the Pac-12 this week, so if you want to have distractions, this would be the week for distractions. But it just added a lot of unnecessary chatter to the game this week.
Right. Not really leading by example.
No, especially with a short week, you know, with a Friday game. So there's even less time to prepare. So I just felt it wasn't beneficial at all to be complaining. And, you know, today is the first day, really, they've practiced, and this hasn't been a topic of conversation, and it's just focusing on the game itself. So, too many distractions, and, you know, the big thing to me is I could not ever see Pete Carroll complaining like this after a game. He's a positive guy. The players fed off his positive attitude.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes I wonder if the players feed off of a negative attitude too. So, you know, that's something Pete Carroll used to say to me, as he knows more than I do about coaching, and he'd say, you know, I'm positive, good things happen when you're positive. And then he had a friend named Greg Robinson, who was the head coach at Syracuse, who was terrible. And he said Greg Robinson was a kind of a negative guy, and, you know, maybe that's why Syracuse struggled, because they had that negative vibe around the program. So I don't know, I just think positive works better when you're the head coach.
Right. Well, despite all the criticisms, that game was so exciting. As you said, it was one of your top games that you've covered since you've been here. What made it one of your top games?
Just, I think obviously the triple overtime, and 56-48, every time you turn around, there's something happening. The end of the game, Nickel Roby intercepts that pass, and he returns it for a touchdown. The place exploded with emotion, and I thought, and Lane Kiffin and Monty Kiffin told me they thought the game was over when he scored that touchdown. And then Stanford still came back and tied it. And, you know, watching Andrew Luck play, you know, great quarterback. He made that one mistake, but otherwise he played incredible. So there was just a lot of stuff going on in that game. Stanford being ranked number 4 at the time. So, you know, it looked like USC was going to pull off a win for the ages, really. And they just, you know, that fumble totally out of the blue, unexpected. So many things. You could talk about that game, you know, for like an hour. And there's so many turning points and things like that. So it was very difficult for me to even write a story about it. So many things happened. And then you're watching it on TV, so you're probably thinking, you know, like everything's seesawing back and forth.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy to watch. I would, you know, walk away for a second to get something, and then something has happened. And it's like, it was just incredible.
So let me ask you, was that like the most you felt like a USC fan watching a game?
I would have to say, you know, it definitely makes you kind of, you know, proud. Even though they lost, it was an excellent game. They played well. They put everything out on the field. So yeah, I can't hate this week.
So you went from cheering against USC one week, and then the next week you're cheering for USC,
I was cheering for Notre Dame, which is my team. As I said the first time we talked, as long as they're not playing Notre Dame, I'm definitely cheering for USC. So
you weren't cheering against USC,
no.
You were cheering for Notre Dame, and then now you're cheering for USC the rest of the season.
For the rest of the season.
That's good. Okay. I'm going to remember this.
Yes, exactly. All right. So we all know the fate of Andrew Luck, you know, Heisman Trophy frontrunner, NFL first draft pick. Do you think that Matt Barkley is going to be back next year?
You know, everyone's talking about that because of that game. There were so many people watching that game, and there's been kind of a little buzz around campus that he might come back now. You know, with the team maybe being good next year, having a chance to go to a bowl game and all that stuff. I think, you know, he fits the profile of a guy who would come back. He's got, you know, a family that he doesn't need the money necessarily, you know, to go pro. On the other hand, the lure of being, say, the number 2 pick in the draft is pretty tough to pass up. I think, you know, if I had to say right now, I'd still say I think he's going to go pro, but I think the decision is not as clear-cut as it was, say, 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the end of the day, unless I see something differently, I always say they'll probably go pro. But I do think he's definitely torn by his decision. So, you know, Mark Sanchez really was pretty adamant on the inside. He didn't say it outside that he wanted to go pro.
Yeah.
I don't think Matt Barkley quite feels the same way right now. So he might feel he has a little bit to prove as a college athlete. But if I had to bet, you know, one way or the other, I'd still say go pro right now.
I guess we'll see soon, huh?
Yeah.
All right, well, looking towards the rest of the season, what does USC have to do to finish strong for the remaining 4 games?
Well, they're going to be heavily favored this week, obviously. Then Washington is going to be a tough game. They'll be favored to win that game. But that's going to be, I think, the game that the season kind of hinges on, because if they win, they got a good shot to go 9-3, because they'll probably lose to Oregon. But if they lose to Washington, then you're looking at 8-4. And that's not going to be good for the fans. So I think it's huge. They have to win that Washington game. Then they can lose to Oregon and then close out against UCLA. Everyone's going to expect to win over UCLA. So 9-3, I think people would be fairly satisfied with. You can't have any games though that, like UCLA, cannot be an upset loss, or else people will go nuclear around here. We'll see Pat Hayden upset even, which he doesn't like to be upset in public very often, but he keeps that more on the inside. But Kiffin's in a pretty good spot right now because he just has to beat Colorado, Washington at home, and UCLA, and then he's got 9 wins. So that would be, I think, in his mind, a good season.
All right, official predictions for this week.
Well, I think
Against
you've been off for a week, so I think we should let you start with predictions.
USC is going to smash them. Smash.
Wow. Do you
have they better at least, or else, like you said, it's going to be nuclear.
Do you have a score by any chance that you think they will smash them by?
Not a score, but probably up 21 points.
Okay, and maybe more?
Yeah.
Like maybe they'll win by 4 or 5 touchdowns?
I don't know, maybe, but...
Okay. Well, the spread is about 21. So,
oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, well, look
You're
at that.
You're right on with the odds makers. I, too, think it's going to be an easy victory. However, since you said it's going to be a blowout, I feel like I have to be different. So I'm going to say it'll be about a 14-point win.
God, you're such a pain sometimes.
That's my job.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you realize that?
Yeah.
You're painting the fans right now by wearing this orange T-shirt.
Okay, we're talking football here, not professional baseball, so I
Okay.
think I'm okay.
All right, and next week we're going to have, I'm not going to give it away, but we'll have a little surprise topic for the readers involving you.
Oh,
and
gosh.
we're not going to discuss it now because we want the readers and the viewers to watch next week, but we'll have a nice, interesting subject on top of USC football to discuss.
I can tell right now you guys are all eager with anticipation over this. I can see it.
Yeah, I can tell you are too.
Oh, of course. It's about me.
But the truth came out finally.
All right. So here we are, predictions. USC is going to win.
Yes.
I guess we'll see on Friday.
And it'll be cold.
Yeah.
It won't be Hawaii weather.
Nothing ever is.
Or Southern California weather.
I know, it's beautiful.
Yeah, you're on a beautiful campus, a beautiful day. I mean, what more did you ask for?
A USC win, I guess.
Okay.
All right, I'm Asia Dang. You're?
Scott Wolf.
All right, check us out at InsideSoCal.com/USC and watch the game Friday at 6 p.m. on ESPN.
Yes.
ESPN.